live from the new sports betting capital of the world.
You might be from Texas, but I'm from New Jersey.
Benny Ricciardi is here to break down the day's betting board for you.
Let's go, Jerry. Go!
Taking a first look at the day's bets, it's time for the FTN Betting Show.
Welcome to the FTN Betscast for Thursday, August 11th here at FTN Bets and sponsored by our friends over at Sleeper. Sleeper is the fastest growing fantasy platform today with millions of players, and now you can win on Sleeper by playing in their new over-under game too. It's super easy to play. So first, in any sport, you're going to choose two or more players that you like and pick whether they're going to go over or under their listed total. So, for example, in baseball tonight, it could be the number of hits, maybe the number of strikeouts that a pitcher has, the number of runs he allows, or the number of runs that a player scores. And then you're going to choose an amount of money that you want to enter into that contest. And if you pick correctly, you can win anywhere from 2 times your money all the way up to 20 times your money if you go 5 out of 5 and get them all correct. But the main reason why I'm excited about this over-under game on Sleeper, it's the only app where you can join with your friends and all play together. It has a built-in group chat where I can see what you're playing, you can see what I'm playing, and we could all see what the guy who won 3 days in a row in our group is playing. And it's insanely fun when everybody is riding it out together and rooting for the same things to happen. So stop what you're doing now, download the Sleeper app, play the new over-under game, have some fun with your friends, and make a little bit of money in the process. On your mobile phone, you can go to sleeper.com/FTNBets, and Sleeper will automatically match your first deposit up to $100. So again, go down to the description in this podcast, sleeper.com/FTNBets, and get that $100 match on your first deposit. There are terms and conditions that apply, so see Sleeper's terms of use for details. Today, we're going to go back to talking about the NFC. Let's see, what do we have here? No, we're going to be talking about the AFC North here today. So we talked about the Cincinnati Bengals. We talked about the Baltimore Ravens. The Cleveland Browns are going to be tough to talk about. I'm trying to hold off as long as I can on talking about them, but I still don't think we're going to get a resolution on the Deshaun Watson stuff. But today, we're going to be talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers last year finished the season 9-7-1. They did make the playoffs. They had a first-round exit as they lost to Kansas City. It was Ben Roethlisberger's farewell game there. So this year, you have a new quarterback there in Pittsburgh, a couple other new pieces that they're going to be putting in. It stands to reason that the win total is going to drop, and the market has the win total below where it was last year. And Jeff Ratcliffe, over at his win total projections over on FTN Bets, has them projected for only 6.8 wins this year. So that's a big difference. We're talking more than 2 wins below where they, well, 2.5 technically if you count the tie, 2.5 wins below where they were last year, which is, like I said, a pretty sizable move here. Jeff is actually even lower on them than the market is, because the consensus out there in the market right now is about 7.5 wins. That's where most of the books have it. There's a few at 6.5, but the ones at 6.5 are juiced way up to the over. There's one book I think that has it at 8.5, but that's juiced way up to the under. So 7.5 is the number that's pretty much out there in the market, and I do like the under on that number. You can get the over at -105 over on PointsBet, FanDuel, and BetMGM. So the fact that even at 7.5, they have it juiced down a little bit at -105 instead of the standard -110 means that they even think it's a little less likely to happen for them to get. Because again, to cash on 7.5, you got to get to 8 wins here for the Steelers. That's going to be asking a lot with the big change that they're making at quarterback, which honestly, at this point, we're not even 100% sure if it's going to be Mitch Trubisky. I mean, that's just kind of the assumption right now. But, again, there's still a whole preseason to play here before we see how any of that stuff works itself out. The under, though, I think is the better way to play this. FanDuel, PointsBet, and BetMGM all have it at under 7.5 wins. You can get that at -115 on any one of those books over there. Again, our projection is 6.8, so maybe they even get the 7, but even that would be them kind of outperforming what we're expecting. And if they do get to 7, that's still not going to cash at 7.5. So it doesn't really make a difference anyway if they get there. So that's the way that I'm looking at this here. That's the way that, I think we could play the Steelers under -115. PointsBet, FanDuel, BetMGM at that 7.5 number. Will the Steelers make the playoffs? So the yes on this is +350. So, I mean, you're talking about, basically giving them like maybe a 22% chance or so to make the playoffs here. I don't really see them doing it. I mean, the defense is still very good, and they do have some good skill position players, but I don't know. I think the quarterback, we know this is a quarterback-driven league, and the last time we saw Mitch Trubisky as a starting quarterback, it wasn't all that great. So, I'm not really putting a ton of faith in the Steelers to have a good season. I think they'll win a couple games. I don't think they're going to go like 0-17 or like 3-14 or anything like that. But, to ask them to get the 9 wins like they did last year or 10 wins or more, which is what guaranteed playoff spots last year, I don't know. I just don't see it happening. So the no would be the way to play this, but the no is paying -400. And remember, -400 is the best number we can get on it. BetMGM and BetRivers have it at -400 if you want to play it there. You look at some of the other books, it's like -450, -460. So I don't know. The payout's just not enough for me to play it, although I do think there is a good chance that the Steelers do miss the playoffs this year. So let's take a look at some of the other some of the other team awards that the Steelers have out there. The Steelers to win the AFC North. The best price we can find on this is 10-1. The lowest price is 8-1, but the best price is 10-1 plus 1,000 on DraftKings, PointsBet, and Caesars out there. Every other team in this division is a much shorter price. The price for the Cleveland Browns keeps yo-yoing because it went down. It was at like 300. It went down to like plus 150 or plus 175 when Deshaun Watson only got like a 6-game suspension. And then when the league decided to appeal that suspension, it yo-yoed back up to like 350 or more because I think people are expecting the league to give an even bigger suspension than originally anticipated because they're trying to use Deshaun Watson to set an example. So, even the Browns, who are yo-yoing back and forth, are a much shorter price to win this division than the Pittsburgh Steelers are. So at 10-1, I just don't see any value at all here. So let's see. Let's talk about the Steelers to win the AFC. Again, if I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, I don't think they can win the AFC North, and I definitely don't think they're going to win the entire AFC. 50-1 is the price you can get on them to win the AFC. Let's see. DraftKings, PointsBet, Caesars all have it at that 50-1 price here. Like I said, if you're a Steelers fan, you want to throw some money on it, be my guest, but you're not going to get any of my money out of this. I don't think there's any value here at all. Again, for me to bet this number, it would probably have to be closer to 100-1. And even then, I'd feel like I'm setting money on fire. Speaking of things close to 100-1, the Steelers to win the Super Bowl, the best price on that is 90-1. So definitely not enough for me to want to bet that. DraftKings has the best price on them, 90-1 for any of you Steelers fans who want to throw a couple bucks on the Steelers to win the Super Bowl. 80-1 is kind of the consensus in the market. Most of the other books have it at 80-1. So if you're going to play it, like I said, I don't recommend it, but I'm not going to stop you. You spend your money any way you want to. If you want to play it, 90-1 on DraftKings is the best price you can get on it. So make sure you get over to DraftKings and put that in there. Remember, you guys can get over to FTNBets.com/sportsbooks and take advantage of all the free money and the risk-free bets and the deposit bonuses that all these different sports books are offering. I tell everybody during the season, if you're using our prop shop over at FTN Bets, you're going to find the best price on any play that you want to make. And that play may not always be on your main book. My main book is DraftKings. That's where most of my action is. But if I see that a number is 15 or 20 points better on BetMGM, well, then I leave a lot of my money in my PayPal account, and then I'll just make a deposit to my MGM account and bet that number over there. Same thing with Caesars, same thing with PointsBet. Same thing with FanDuel. I have a little bit of money sitting on all of those accounts, and I have money in my PayPal account that can quickly go to any one of those other sports books. But I have an account at each one of them to take advantage of the best number that's out there in the market. And I find those numbers by using the prop shop over at FTN Bets. So definitely get over there. It's very easy to use. You type the name of whatever team or whatever player you're looking for in the search bar, and it'll give you all the odds for that player for all the different betting markets that are out there on them, rushing yards, passing yards, receiving yards. That's how I do all the research for all these podcasts here. It's a free tool. You don't need to be a subscriber to use it. So get over to FTN Bets and check out the FTN Bets Prop Shop. I think it's honestly, I don't understand how people sports bet without a tool like this. So definitely take advantage of it. So let's see here. We talked about all the numbers for the Steelers as a team. Let's go on and talk about some of the individual numbers for some of the Steelers players. So normally we start with the quarterback position, right? We always talk quarterback first because it's the NFL and quarterbacks are that important. But it's so weird because we don't even know for sure if Mitch Trubisky is going to be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So none of the books even have props up for Mitch Trubisky. I shouldn't say that. They don't have the individual props that we normally see, like the number of passing yards the guy's going to have, the number of interceptions he's going to throw, the number of touchdowns over or under. None of those are listed for any of the Steelers quarterbacks because, again, we're not 100% sure who will be the quarterback. And even if Trubisky is the quarterback in week 1, there's no guarantee he's going to be the quarterback by the end of the season. They did draft a kid in the first round. They do still have Mason Rudolph there as well, I think. Not even injury-wise, just, if the team is out of it in the middle of the season, they may decide to see what they have in the rooks. So we don't know how long Trubisky is going to be there. So there are no things to bet on. The only things you can bet on when it comes to Steelers quarterbacks are, will he lead the league in, will Mitch Trubisky lead the league in passing touchdowns? Well, we're definitely not betting on that because the answer is no. Will he lead the league in passing yards? Again, no. Will he lead the league in interceptions? Maybe. But if he only plays 7 games, he's probably not going to. So there's just too much uncertainty here to bet any of the things that we can bet. So again, I know we normally start with quarterback, but, Mitch Trubisky, once again, breaking the mold. We have no idea what to do with him here. So not really much we could talk about. We can talk about Najee Harris, though. Najee Harris is the guy who is pretty much the stir that stirs the drink here over with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Offensive Player of the Year award, Najee Harris, 100-1 on FanDuel is the best price we can find out there. It's 75-1 on most of the books, 60-1 on DK, 66-1 on BetMGM. So, I mean, again, on FanDuel, you're giving him slightly less than a 1% chance. At 100-1, it's like 0.99 or whatever it is there. On DK and BetMGM, it's more like a 1.6% chance to be the Offensive Player of the Year. So again, you can see the difference in the payout for just a little, like half a percentage point different in what the actual implied odds are for a player to win an award. Again, at right around 1% or 0.999% over on FanDuel, they're paying 100-1. That means you bet $100, you're going to get back what? You add 2 zeros to it, you're going to get back 10,000, is that right? Yeah, 10,000. So that's a really, really good return there if that happens. Whereas if you do it over on DraftKings at 60-1, you're going to get back $6,000, which again, $6,000 is a lot of money, but you could have gotten $10,000. So definitely going to take the $10,000 versus $6,000 if you want to back Najee Harris for Offensive Player of the Year. Like I said, DraftKings is the play. FanDuel is the place to play that, as that's where they have it at 100-1. Couple other things we can look at here that are interesting for Najee Harris. Rushing yards over 1,100 on FanDuel is paying -112. Assuming Najee Harris has anywhere near the same volume he did last year. And again, I know they say they're going to try to, loosen it up or give him less snaps or whatever. But we hear this every year with guys that are overworked, right? Like this was the Christian McCaffrey argument that we heard for years in Carolina. Same thing with Derrick Henry. Same thing with Dalvin Cook. Same thing with all these guys. When you have a stud running back, you want to put the ball in his hands as much as possible. And that's what a lot of teams are going to do here. So they say they're going to limit these guys' snaps. But what they tend to do is they limit like the passing down snaps, right? So it doesn't really affect their rushing numbers. If Najee Harris stays healthy, Najee Harris is going to get close to 350 touches probably this year, maybe even more. Najee Harris is going to go over 1,100 yards rushing. So really what you're betting on here is whether or not Najee, stays healthy. There's another number out there in the market that's interesting too, and that is rushing plus receiving at 1,600. For me, though, I would rather just play the rushing yards because I don't think he's going to get 700 or 800 receiving yards this year. So I don't see how he gets to 1,600 rushing plus receiving without getting over 1,000 in the rushing category. 1,100 in the rushing category. So to me, the best way to play this number for Najee Harris, go to the rushing number over 1,100 yards, 1,100 being the lowest yardage total that we can find on any of the books. It's paying -112. That's over on FanDuel. So the place to play Najee Harris over rushing yards, 1,100.5 -112 over on FanDuel. Now, if you want to play the under on his rushing yards, DraftKings has the number at 1,150 yards. The under is paying -115. So again, when you're playing an over, you want to take the lowest number that's out there. When you're playing an under, you want to take the highest number that's out there. Stands to reason, just gives you a little bit more cushion and gives you a better chance to cash that bet, which is what it's all about at the end of the day. So rushing under -115 on DraftKings for 1,150 yards. That's the best place to play the under for Najee's rushing yards. Najee's rushing touchdowns are interesting, though. FanDuel has the number at 7.5 touchdowns. The over is -124. The under is -102. DraftKings and BetMGM have it at 9.5. So 2 touchdowns higher. You would need 10 touchdowns to cash on that one. The over is paying +100. The under is -115 though. So I don't really love any of these numbers. If I'm going to take any of these numbers here, the one that seems the most off to me is the DraftKings and BetMGM under 9.5 touchdowns at -115. FanDuel at -102 for under 7.5 touchdowns there. I mean, -115 for under 9.5. It feels like you're getting a gift there. Like that feels like, they're giving you a lot of leeway on those numbers. So DraftKings, FanDuel number are the ones I feel are the most off in the market. Under 9.5 touchdowns, the higher number, -115 on DraftKings and BetMGM for Najee Harris touchdowns. So let's see, who else can we talk about? The Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson is another interesting one. If you guys did not see the thread that I put out today, go over to my Twitter account at BennyR11 and check out the thread on arbitrage with Deontay Johnson. And I'll explain it here real quick as well when we get down to his touchdowns. Let's start with his catches here. 85.5 catches, minus 115 over and under on DraftKings and BetMGM. He was in a little bit of a contract squabble with the front office, but that's all worked out. He's back at practice. Everything is good. I think this guy's going to continue to be a target monster. Now, are they going to throw as often with a guy like, assuming Mitch Trubisky under center versus what they did last year with Ben Roethlisberger? No, probably not. So then we got to think that's going to affect Deontay Johnson. But again, Deontay Johnson is a guy that there's just so much volume for him in this offense. Like, this is a guy who routinely has double-digit targets thrown his way. And it's not like all those targets are long shots down the field. A lot of them are what we call the long handoffs, when they run like, screen plays to him or like quick hitters to him or, things that are like high probability throws, which I think they're probably going to do more of with Mitch Trubisky than they even did with Ben Roethlisberger. Not that they didn't do it a lot with Roethlisberger, but Roethlisberger could throw the ball downfield a little bit better than Mitch Trubisky can. So even at the advanced age that Big Ben was in the later, the later years of his career with Deontay Johnson put up some sick numbers with Ben Roethlisberger as his quarterback. So again, there's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know how things are going to change with a new quarterback there, but it is something that we want to look at. 85.5 catches, over and under, minus 115 on both DraftKings and BetMGM. I like if I'm going to play a Deontay Johnson number, I like the over on the yardage, minus 112 on FanDuel, 950 yards. It's 1,000 yards on DraftKings. So if you're going to play the under, you want to play under on DraftKings at minus 115. But for me, I like the over. If Deontay Johnson is going to keep getting this massive volume, and we saw him still get volume even when like Mason Rudolph was his quarterback and stuff. So I think he's still going to be a major part of this offense. I mean, they need him to be. It's not like they have a ton of playmakers on this offense right now. They did add Pickens. They do have Claypool. Freiermuth is not bad. So I do take that back. They have a lot of good weapons on this offense. What they really need, though, is a competent quarterback. And I don't know if there's one on the roster right now. So again, I still like the over, but I'm not betting it because of all the uncertainty there. Again, we don't have to bet these numbers, so we can stay away from it. So now comes to the fun part of the show where we get to talk about the arbitrage situation. So here's what an arbitrage situation is. I want everybody to understand what that is. So what you do in an arbitrage situation is you're actually buying and selling a number simultaneously in different markets, but on the exact same thing to take advantage of a pricing difference. So what do I mean by that? Here's what I mean by that. The number out there in the market for Deontay Johnson touchdowns is 6.5. On DraftKings, the over is paying plus 120. So you bet $100, you win 120. On BetMGM, the under is paying minus 115, meaning in order to win $100, you have to bet $115. So again, DraftKings, you bet 100, you win 120. BetMGM, you bet 115 on the under, you win 100. So think about it this way. Let's say you bet $100 on DraftKings and $115 on BetMGM. You take the over on DraftKings, you take the under on BetMGM. Now, if that number comes over, you're going to win one bet and you're going to lose one bet. So on DraftKings, you're going to win 120, but you lost $115 you bet on BetMGM. So 120 minus 115 means you made a $5 profit. Now, if he goes under that 6.5 number, DraftKings, where you bet $100, you're going to lose that $100 bet. So you're minus 100 on DraftKings. But the 115 that you bet on MGM, you won 100. And the 100 that you bet on MGM minus the 100 you lost on DraftKings means you break even. So this is an arbitrage situation because you could actually bet both of these markets and guarantee yourself no matter what happens, you won't lose the bet. So again, if he goes under, you break even. If he goes over, you make $5. Now you might be saying, oh, Benny, what's the point? I'm going to make $5. Well, yeah, it's a guaranteed $5 if you want to go do it that way. And here's the galaxy brain way to take advantage of this. If you're new to sports betting and you just came across this podcast, you can go over to ftnbets.com/sportsbooks, sign up for an account on DraftKings and an account on BetMGM, and they will both give you up to $1,000 first bet that if you lose, they will give you a voucher back for the amount of money of that first bet, meaning you could bet $1,000 on each one. So take $1,000 and put it on the over on DraftKings for 6.5 touchdowns at plus 120, and then take $1,000 and put it on the under on BetMGM at 6.5 touchdowns at -115. And this way, no matter what happens, you can still eke out a little bit of profit there since we're taking advantage of the arbitrage. And whichever one of those bets you lose, you're actually going to get your money back in the form of a free voucher there. So theoretically, you'd be betting $2,000 and guaranteeing yourself like, $1,000 free bet plus, I don't know, a couple bucks, maybe 15, 20, 30 bucks, whatever it comes out to there, probably around like $20, $25 in profit. So if you're going to, or you could break even, but one way or another, you're going to be able to cover this bet. So that's something that you could do if you're new to sports betting and you don't have accounts on DraftKings and BetMGM. Not only can you guarantee yourself that you're going to make a little bit of a profit on this bet, because one way or another, you're going to win or break even, you could also get yourself a free $1,000 voucher that you can bet on something else later on down the line and make yourself some money that way. So again, this is an arbitrage situation. I wanted to explain it. If you want to see it a little more in detail, go over to my Twitter page at BennyR11. There's a thread there where I break the whole thing down. Makes it a lot easier for you to understand. And there's little pictures and examples there if you're more of a visual learner. So there you go. That's going to wrap it up for the Deontay Johnson talk. What else can we talk about here? I mean, George Pickens, the rookie, 250 to 1 on DraftKings to be rookie of the year, only 100 to 1 on FanDuel. I don't hate that, man. If you got like a $5 free bet voucher and you want to go over to DraftKings and throw it on that 250 to 1 on Pickens, do I think he's going to win rookie of the year? No, but I agree. It's probably more of a 1 or 2% chance that he does than, a point, whatever it is, 0.25% chance for somebody who's getting paid plus 250 to 1 or plus 25,000 in order to win rookie of the year. Again, you bet $5 on him and he wins it. You turn that free $5 bet you had into $1,250. Not a bad return there for a $5 bill. Chase Claypool, I don't know, man. I am so torn on this guy. Like, I love the talent. I hate the situation. You have Pickens in there, so he may have some competition for some targets and snaps. You still have Deontay Johnson, so he's not the number one. You got a really bad quarterback, so we don't know how many passes he's actually going to complete anyway. Like, I just don't want to touch any of these Claypool numbers. I'll give them to you guys so you have them. But Chase Claypool, 58.5 catches on DraftKings BetMGM, -115 to the over and the under. The best yardage number I saw for him is on DraftKings, 725. DraftKings and BetMGM there as well, -115 to the over and the under. I think Chase Claypool is talented enough to be a 1,000-yard receiver in the right situation. I think this situation is bad enough that a guy as talented as Chase Claypool may not even get to 725, 750 yards this season. So again, like I said, if you guys want to take a shot on this, go ahead. There are other things that I feel like we're getting the same payout for that I have more certainty on. I feel like this is just basically throwing darts. But if you're a big Chase Claypool guy, you want to get him on your team, by all means, go over there. Those are the numbers. You guys know what they are. I'll let you make your own decisions on that one. As for me, I'm not touching anybody other than maybe Deontay Johnson over in his yardage, maybe an over on Najee Harris rushing yards. And then again, if you want to take advantage of that arbitrage situation, you guys know all the details for it. So there you go. That's going to wrap it up for today's edition of the FTN Bets Cast here at FTN Bets and sponsored by our good friends over at Sleeper. Good luck today, everybody.
Live from the new sports betting capital of the world.
You might be from Texas, but I'm from New Jersey.